Get ready to unleash your inner legal mastermind and embark on an exhilarating legal adventure. Welcome to the Legal Odyssey podcast, where we dive deep into the world of law and bring you face to face with the sharpest legal minds in America. I am thrilled to be your guide on this wild ride as we uncover the hidden secrets of the legal elite. Welcome to another exciting episode of the Legal Odyssey. I am your host, Haley, and today we have a special guest who will unravel the mysteries of foreclosure defense. Get ready to delve into the realm of law and discover how you can conquer any legal situation life throws your way. Joining us today is Mr. Keaveney, a renowned foreclosure defense attorney and founder of Keaveney Legal Group. Mr. Keaveney, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Mr. Keaveney, let's kick things off by learning more about your journey into the legal world. What inspired you to become an attorney?
I think, like, ever since I was a kid, I've always been argumentative. I've always been interested in the law. I've always, I kind of think I knew at a pretty early age that I wanted to be a lawyer. I remember my sixth grade teacher telling my parents that, trying to describe the way I act in class. And my mother said, well, he's very argumentative. And the teacher said, to say the least. And I think that pretty much describes my personality. I love a good argument. And, and I like fighting for fairness. I was a middle child. I think a lot of middle children end up becoming lawyers. It was four boys, and I was always I wanted everything to be fair. I didn't want more than everybody else, but I wanted my fair share. I was always fighting for it. I think that was in the back of my head. And as I went to college and then eventually went to law school, I was a paralegal for a couple of years, test the waters, and then became a lawyer.
That is fantastic. Talk about a perfect personality for an attorney. So, what made you decide to focus specifically on foreclosure defense then?
Well, that's kind of an interesting story too. I have had a really good friend. This was back 13 years ago. I was practicing a different type of law at the time, and I was pretty high up in a firm that I'd been working with for many years. And I'm talking to my friend, and he unfortunately was laid off, and that was happening a lot back then. And there was the housing crisis, the mortgage foreclosure crisis, and he got laid off. And so he knows I didn't do that type of law at the time, but we're good friends and we would talk. And he'd tell me what was going on with the bank. And the bank was telling him, being very pleasant to him. Okay, we'll help you get caught up on your payments. We'll help you with this. It's all rainbows to them. And, one thing he said was, well, he applied for unemployment. And they said, well, when you get your unemployment, send us the information and we can start working on a loan modification for you. So they started really giving him the runaround, and I started getting more and more involved and just doing research. And I learned that this is a very common tactic. People are being foreclosed on all over the place, and it's a thing called dual tracking, and it's kind of illegal. It's where they're talking to you, pretending they're working with you, pretending they're going to help you, and in the meantime, they hire an attorney and they start foreclosing on you. And you're not even looking out, and all of a sudden a complaint comes. Maybe you don't even get it. And the next thing you know, they're taking your property away. And I've just read all these horror stories about it. And it was really a big deal back then in 2012 or 2010. And so in 2011, I just started my own law firm. I'd done lots and lots of research and just started taking on mortgage foreclosure defense. I've been focused on it ever since. It's extremely rewarding when you save someone's home and just people cry with tears of joy and they thank you so much. And it really warms your heart when you can help somebody. And I love doing it. It's my favorite area I've ever practiced.
Your dedication to foreclosure defense and helping those in need in those kinds of situations is so admirable. I am blown away.
Thank
So,
you.
Mr. Keaveney, can you tell us then what Keaveney Legal Group as a whole firm stands for and what values really drive your firm?
So we are definitely a client-driven practice. All we do is mortgage foreclosure defense and bankruptcy. And, they kind of go hand in hand. It's people that are in financial trouble. So when we talk to you, we want to know, what is your goal? What are you trying to do? Do you want to save this home? And people want to save the home for various reasons. When I was doing it back in 2011, everybody was underwater, meaning they owed more than the property was worth. And I would tell them, if I get you a loan modification, you're going to pay, all that money back. You might be better off giving up your home, but I can't tell you. Maybe your children are going to school in that district. Maybe, it's your family home and you just don't want to give it up and you're willing to pay, whatever it takes to keep that home. And in that case, we go all out and do everything we can to save the home. But if you're saying, geez, Jim, I owe 400,000, the property's only worth 200,000, get me out of here. Just make sure I don't owe the bank any money when I'm done. Then we would take that route. But we're always client focused. We want our clients to be aware of what's happening with their case at all times. We want them to feel like they finally have somebody in their corner fighting for them. And we can be anything from Mr. Nice Guy to Mr. Bad Guy with the banks, and we can talk more about that later.
It is very clear that you have a very strong commitment to your clients. And I think it's so important the individualistic approach you take with each client because there's different goals that everyone has. And so they are going to need a different approach for their specific goals. So I
Absolutely.
love that it's not just a one size fits all approach and that you care for each client specifically.
I always say we're not canning tuna here, okay? There's no assembly line. This is, what do you need? And for some, it's bankruptcy. We'll just transfer them to bankruptcy, and you give up your house, and you get to save money and that sort of thing. But there's all different things we can do. So many, it would take us hours to go over all of it. But
Right.
most of them do want a loan modification and keep the property, but so many have different goals.
So, with that being said, there's so many different paths that someone can take towards a solution. But what would you say is the number one thing that clients can benefit from your services, from hiring you as a foreclosure defense attorney when they are struggling with that debt relief situation?
Sure. So, like I said, most clients want to keep their home. It's whether they're underwater or not. And nowadays, sometimes they're not. A lot of them are not. But regardless, they want to stay in their property, and they think they can do it on their own a lot of times. So, and the bank will tell you that. The last thing the bank wants you to do is call Keaveney Legal Group. They know who we are. They don't want us on the other side of the phone. They want you, the naive person, on the other end of the phone. And then they'll give you a song and dance like they did to my friend. And then they control. If, let's say, you have equity in your property, they want the property. They want to foreclose. They'll get all their money back, maybe then some. So, if you hire us, we don't take any nonsense. We know what the rules are, and we're going to help you achieve your goal, and they're not going to run all over you. It is possible, I should say, to get a loan modification without the assistance of an attorney. But, do you really want to gamble that if it's your home and you really want to keep your home? Because I've seen so many cases where they come to us after they've tried and failed, and they're so angry at the bank, and they lied to me, and it's sad.
It's
But hopefully, it's not too late, and oftentimes it's not. So that
just
that
reduce some of
having
that
somebody in
stress.
your corner. Usually, when they first hire us, they'll say, "Oh, I felt such a sense of relief after I talked to your assistant, after I talked to the attorney. Now I have somebody in my corner, and they can sleep at night." And that is the first and most important benefit. Somebody's fighting for you.
That is perfect advice. So, to switch gears just a little bit, I want to provide some more advice to our listeners who might be in need of some foreclosure defense services. What is one of the most critical pieces of advice you would give to somebody that is looking for a foreclosure defense attorney in Pennsylvania or New Jersey?
Sure. The biggest thing is you really have to do your research. There's a lot of firms out there that will do foreclosure defense, but it's one of dozens of practice areas they have. They have no expertise or very limited expertise in it. They don't know what is happening in the foreclosure defense world and the loss mitigation world. When I say loss mitigation, that means any program that will help a distressed homeowner. And the rules change all the time, changing nonstop, especially when new presidents get elected, new politicians get into office, but they're always changing. All the regulations, things are changing. We are on top of it. It's what we focus on. And if you hire somebody who, that's kind of one of the things they do, but they don't really do it, they're not going to be up to speed on these things. And then the other thing is do your Google research. Look at the reviews. See what people are saying about you. I welcome anybody to go and look at ours, and even on YouTube, I have videos of clients that I've helped, and they're just so grateful. But you really need somebody that knows what they're doing and is really out there doing it all the time, as opposed to one of, like I said, a dozen practice areas. That's probably the biggest thing.
Wonderful. In If someone is experiencing a fear or hesitation towards going forward and hiring that foreclosure defense attorney, how can they overcome that fear and move forward with getting the help and support that they need?
Yeah, I think one of the big reasons why people sort of put their head in the sand is one, they're ashamed. People have pride, and when they bought this house, they could afford it,
Yeah.
but they don't realize that there's so many millions of people going through the same thing. We can't control the economy. We can't control layoffs. We can't control medical bills that come up. Somebody in the family gets sick, and so they have this sense of pride that I don't want to reach out and do it, and they really need to get over that because so many people are in the same situation, and 99% of the time it's not your fault. I mean, sure, you could get a little sloppy with your bills and things can happen, but don't shoulder the blame because it happens all the time. And I think another thing people is, oh, lawyers are very expensive, and maybe I don't have the money because first of all I can't pay my mortgage. So how am I going to afford an attorney? And we work with people. We basically charge a monthly fee that is way less than your mortgage payment would be. So literally, if you can't afford us, you wouldn't be able to afford to save your home anyway, because your monthly fee is going to be, to us, is going to be significantly less than what your mortgage will be if we can get you modified. So, those are the things, worried about money and just being ashamed and burying their heads in sand, hoping it'll go away. And then back to what I said in the beginning, the bank say, "Oh, we'll help you. Sure, we'll help you." And okay, I don't need an attorney, and that really is bad advice.
It sounds like one of the first and best steps to take when you find yourself in the situation of falling behind on those mortgage payments or receiving a foreclosure defense letter might be to just get in contact with an attorney, to have someone in your corner that knows all the details, all the specs, versus going and trying to attempt to call these people who, like you said, are going to switch the story up and pretend to be in the corner that they're not in.
Yeah, absolutely. The sooner you deal with it, the better. Okay, so if you sit on it, it's going to be harder for me to help you. If you get in touch with us, so after 90 days of not paying your mortgage, so you missed three payments, they're required to send you a notice of default. And that's before they can file a lawsuit against you. So you can hire me right then and there before they even file a lawsuit, and maybe I can get your case resolved before they file a lawsuit. So the sooner the better. Then the next step is they file a lawsuit, right? And then if you don't answer that and you haven't hired a lawyer, they take a judgment against you. And now you're really up the creek and you're having problems. And then the next step is sheriff's sale. And if you contact me before the sheriff's sale, I can probably help you. But I would way rather have you call me as soon as you get that notice of default. They're going to come after you. I'm going to prepare for litigation, but in the meantime, I'm going to try to resolve it before the litigation even starts.
Thank you so much for sharing all of your expertise. You have been so helpful and providing some really enlightening information.
Oh, no.
Finally, as we wrap up this conversation, is there anything else that you would like to share with our listeners who might be searching for a foreclosure defense attorney?
Yeah, as I said, do your research, but also be prepared to be proactive once you do hire an attorney. If, for example, you're going for a loan modification, whatever you're going for, the bank is going to require documents from you. They're going to want to see your bank statements. They're going to want to see your bills. They're going to want a full picture of what your financial situation is so we can figure out and they can figure out what programs you might be eligible for. So a lot of times clients will, I hired an attorney now I can relax. And that's true to a certain extent. But you better answer our calls when we call, when we ask you for documents, turn them up, give them to us as fast as you can. What happens is you give us a whole bunch of documents, but not everything we need. And then by the time you give us what we really need, those documents become what we call stale, and the bank won't take them. It's too old. So just be prepared. The more proactive you are, the faster I can resolve your case, and the cheaper it'll be for you. As I say, we charge a monthly fee. So if you're not getting us the documents and we have to keep bugging you and bugging you and bugging you, then it's going to drag out and you're going to pay more than you would have, and you're going to have more sleepless nights than you would have. So be ready, be proactive, work with your attorney, respond to all the requests. We're not trying to give you a hard time. A lot of clients, you already asked me for that. Why are you bothering me? I hired you. You take care of this. I don't have your bank statements. I don't have your financial documents. You need to give them to me. And that would be the best advice I could give anybody who is trying to keep their home or whatever they're trying to do with it. Respond to your attorney. Do it quickly. You'll get out as painlessly as possible.
Time is of the essence, clearly, in this situation.
100%.
It has been an absolute pleasure having you, Mr. Kevney.
Oh, it's been my pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. And to our listeners, thank you for tuning in to this exciting episode of the Legal Odyssey. Remember, this podcast is not legal advice, but it is designed to empower you with knowledge and insights from the sharpest legal minds in America. Join us next time for another captivating exploration of the secrets that'll have you feeling confident in each life change. Until then, stay legally empowered.